So I'm here with Dan Smith, Head of Energy Services at our principal sponsor, Northern Gas and Power. Dan, do you think it's credible and impossible to achieve the actual net zero target for the whole country and individual businesses?
I think it is. Interesting you said for the whole country. I think it's kind of a bigger issue than that. It's the whole world, isn't it? But I do think it's possible. I think we have the technology now. If we focus and implement now with the technology we've got now, I think we could achieve net zero by 2050. But I do really mean now. There's no time to waste on that. Recently, articles are kind of arguing about whether it's emissions reduction or we're going to capture carbon out the air. Now, yes, they're both a part of this, but these people who are saying, right, let's capture carbon out the air, is kind of giving the emitters an excuse to keep emitting. Mm-hmm. Everything's got their piece, everything's got their part to play. We need to reduce the emissions that we're putting into the air. We need to capture carbon direct out the air as well. We need to do all of that stuff. But in the meantime, we've got lots of stuff. We've got renewable energy, we've got energy efficiency, we've got all of the other things that we can start implementing right now to get to 2050.
What should a business do first then?
Businesses, first off, they should work out where they're at now. Mm-hmm. They need to know what their appetite is for this. They need to know how important it is to reduce carbon. So they really need to look at it. Also, it's their customers as well. Are their customers demanding that company becomes carbon net zero or reduce their emissions in any way, shape or form? Now, I would suspect if they don't already, they will in the future. If you're putting a tender in to supply jam to a major supermarket, for example, that major supermarket is not going to just ask you how much it is per jar of jam. They're going to want carbon footprints as well. So customers need to look, some are doing that already, but they need to look longer term because everybody's going to be wanting that in the future. So it's the drive from your business sector, and it's about your personal responsibility. If you own a business or you're responsible in that business, you've got a responsibility to not just the business, but look, the world as well, the country, your kids, your grandkids, whatever it happens to be. You need to know how important it is and then focus on getting there.
So imagine they've got the buy-in, they understand they do need to, and one of the first things you can do is reduce your consumption. They might not have a clue which technology to use.
Yes.
Where do I start with this reduction that I know I need to do?
Yes, and I think expert help is important here. People can say, I'm going to put LED lights in. You know, if people haven't got a clue, they might go, well, I'll take my fluorescent lights out, I'll put LEDs in. There's a place for that, absolutely. Mm-hmm. That's one thing. You need some kind of coherent short, medium, long-term plan strategy. And to get that, you need expert help to just get you on that track. Often, if I went into a company to help them with this process, it would be finding out where they are now, find out what their appetite is, doing an audit on their premises. If they're a manufacturing company, for example, that's going to be most of their use, doing an audit. So from the audit, you're going to find not just CapEx. It's easy to go in and say, right, you need high efficiency boilers, you need to replace all your pumps with high efficiency pumps. That's easy, but that will get you energy savings. It's going to cost you money. It's going to cost you hundreds of thousands of pounds, possibly. So companies are just not going to do that. So it's important when we go in and get a company on this path to find no and low cost stuff that they can do, which is always operational, behavioural and maintenance. So use your plant better, optimise it, get your set points right, get your time schedules right. And that's not just heating, this is compressed air pressure and everything. Optimise it. It's not going to cost you anything to optimise what you've already got. Make sure it's right. So operational, optimise what you've got. Behavioural, make sure people are doing what they should do in the best energy efficient way. They know how to make things, because that's their job. They've been standing on the production line for years doing that. But when they go for their tea break, for example, can they isolate the compressed air? Because in the past, they've always left it running, and you can hear these compressed air leaks everywhere. It's nothing to just isolate, and this is behavioural stuff. Can you isolate stuff? Can you stop energy getting wasted? It hasn't cost the company anything yet, apart from a bit of training, a bit of time. Maintenance, let's look at old pieces of kit. What's your maintenance strategy? Do you get motors rewound, for example? Because every time you get a motor rewound, they lose efficiency. And people go, well, yeah, we get them rewound because it's cheaper than getting a new motor. True, but life cycle costs, it's a lot more expensive. And also all of these little things is reducing energy, it's reducing carbon.
A lot of readers say the biggest barrier is financing it, if it needs capital expenditure. How do you get over that hurdle in the sense of, how do you get them to spend money? Is there save schemes you can do with putting...
Potentially, I go back to what I've just said, if you can do operational and behavioural changes and save money from that, and ring fence those savings to pay for your CapEx costs, that kind of makes sense. In terms of shared savings schemes, to do that, you need a good monitoring and targeting system. Energy is very much, you can't manage what you can't measure. So there's no point saying we're going to save some percent on the motors and have a shared savings. We need to know exactly what you're going to do. I would suggest if you do a good audit and put a good business case together, saying, right, that payback is 4 months, that's 9 months, that's 18 months, that's 36 months. Get a good business case. You can bundle them all together if you want and put that in front of the FD or the CEO. This makes sense. On the financial side of things, we're also now talking about carbon as well on the top of that. So yes, money obviously is a driver. It's a hindrance as well, but you need to talk about carbon as well. We can always talk about carbon taxes, which may potentially change next week, next month, next year. They're going to increase. There's only one way carbon taxes are going to go. Without knowing what you've got, knowing where you're using your energy, they would have no idea. So there's lots of marginal gains to be had through all of this kind of stuff, but you need to know where you're using your energy to get to that kind of detail.
So can you explain briefly what the ClearVUE system does for a customer?
ClearVUE it's an energy management system which monitors your energy consumption per circuit, and we can go right down to per minute level if required. For example, we've got a big visitor attraction that's got ClearVUE in, and their old-fashioned energy management was they got the invoice once a month and they went, yeah, it's about right, it's about what we paid last month, let's pay it. To be honest, that's not untypical, as lots of people still do that. We put ClearVUE in so we could then break down the energy consumption into all the different areas. For the first time ever, they had visibility of what area, what attraction was using what energy. Very importantly, what it was costing as well, because we filter all of the cost elements into the back end of ClearVUE. So they could see exactly what was using, what area, what location was using how much energy. And interestingly, again, it was the nighttime base load that was really, really tripping them up. They had some big water features, and the water feature was using a lot of energy at night when there's no visitors and no need. And it turns out it was to clean the water. It was pumping the water around some filtration type system. A bit of change, they can now reduce that massively at night, and they're saving, it's tens of thousands of pounds a year that this company's saving. But without ClearVUE to show them what was going on at night, they had no visibility of it. So where do you focus your effort? Well, there, what's going on there at night? We now know because ClearVUE shows them exactly what it is. Now ClearVUE shows you exactly what you're using, how much you're spending at different times of the day. So for example, a customer was on a pass-through contract where the cost of energy was more expensive in the red zone, which is between about 4 and 7, Monday to Friday. It changes a little bit depending on where you are. This customer had lots of cold stores. They grew soft fruit, picked it, packed it, stored it. The cold stores, because we showed them how much energy they were using between 4 and 7, they changed their routine a little bit, so they didn't fill the cold stores between 4 and 7, i.e. they kept the doors shut. Because they kept the doors shut, they could switch them off between 4 and 7. If you open the doors and fill it, okay, you need to cool them down. If you don't load it then, keep your doors shut, you can switch it off between 4 and 7. You could see it, you could see the energy reduction at 4 o'clock once they did this, and eventually they got to the stage where they were monitoring the temperatures, obviously, and the temperature wasn't rising come 7, 7:30, 8 o'clock. I think they got to 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock eventually before they decided to switch it back on again. But it's visibility, what's happening, how much you're using. And I'm talking about energy, carbon's exactly the same thing. You can see the carbon on the screen as well. So it's a really powerful, ClearVUE is a really powerful energy management tool to allow you to get into the detail. And
when you're talking to customers, do you find that they are more prone to listen now because of the net zero argument. Is it opening doors with regard to, yeah, let's install this, or let's at least start the conversation and move towards it? Is it working as an enabler?
Yes, definitely. You can't avoid it, carbon reduction. So everybody is that. To be honest, if they don't mention it, I'll mention it when I'm in customers' properties anyway. So it is a good enabler. I can do demonstrations of our system just looking at carbon. I might not even get into energy or cost. I can do whole trends of consumption patterns. Schools, for example, school kids would love to know that their block emitted so many tons of CO2 for that week. You can focus just on that, and this is the education piece as well.
That's brilliant. Dan, thank you.
Thank you.